Is this week the final stand for Erik Ten Hag? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Today's video is going to centre around the current Manchester United manager, Erik Ten Hag, who he and his club are about to embark on a monumental and massive week in the club's current campaign, with obviously their Champions League hopes hanging by a thread, their European footballing hopes for the rest of the season hanging in the balance, and of course their hit and miss Premier League domestic campaign taking them on Sunday to a trip to Anfield to take on top of the table Liverpool. It hasn't been a great season for Erik Ten Hag or Manchester United so far. Somehow the Red Devils still managed to find themselves in 6th place. Somehow still that high up, to say that obviously there's been a hell of a lot of problems at Manchester United during the just on the halfway point, shall we say, of this campaign so far. And after Bournemouth's victory over Manchester United on Saturday, in which the Cherries were 3-0 winners against the United side in what was seen as a humiliating and an embarrassing display and result by Erik Ten Hag's side, it has seen the constant speculation, the constant snowballing, and the constant gathering of momentum behind the agenda to maybe it is time to sack Erik Ten Hag and look for a new Manchester United manager. We're going to be talking about this situation in regards to Manchester United and Erik Ten Hag and everything else in between. But before we go any further, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always very greatly appreciated. I also encourage you to get involved in the comment section as well. Get involved down there. Tell me your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it on this particular topic. I'm sure you have a lot of interesting and great thoughts and all of that good stuff on this potential story down below, so do get involved down there. Without further ado, let's get on with the channel. Let's get on with the video. Let's get on with talking about Erik Ten Hag and Manchester United. Look, I'll always say the same thing that I always say when it comes to these types of videos. I am a Liverpool fan. For anybody that is new, I am a Liverpool fan. But I'll always try and speak openly, honestly, and as neutrally and as fairly as possible when it comes to talking about rival fans and producing rival content. For Erik Ten Hag and for Manchester United, I don't necessarily see it as Ten Hag being a terrible manager. There is clearly something there with this guy. I think he's just been restricted and shackled by the powers that be at Manchester United. Now, of course, I'll talk more about that later on in the video in regards to Ten Hag's future. But the current situation playing out at Manchester United is this. On the pitch, they play Bayern Munich tonight at the time of recording. They're going to be against Bayern Munich in match day 6 of the group stages of the Champions League format as we currently know it. They need to win that game in order to keep their hopes of, in order to keep their European football dream alive for the rest of the campaign. A win will guarantee them, at the very least, Europa League football. Now, in order to obtain Champions League whilst winning, they will need to hope that the game between Copenhagen and Galatasaray ends in a draw. If one of those teams are to win, Manchester United will not be qualifying for the Champions League for the knockout stages. If United are to win and one of those teams do win, United are going to be going into the Europa League draw as a consolation prize. If United draw, lose, not good enough. They will be out of the competition. And that will be all she wrote on Manchester United's Champions League campaign for this season. So it's a massive week in terms of that aspect. But then it's also a massive week domestically as well. Manchester United will be looking to bounce back from that humiliating defeat in the Premier League against Bournemouth on Saturday. But they'll have a monumental task ahead of them when they face Liverpool at Anfield on Sunday. And this is a Liverpool side that are top of the table currently. They are a point clear of second place Arsenal. They are in very good form right now. And recent history tells us that when United travel away to Anfield, it doesn't end well for the Red Devils. They get absolutely slaughtered. Even when Liverpool weren't playing particularly great last year, they still managed to slap United up 7-0. There's been 5-0s, there's been 4-0s in recent times. It hasn't been great for Manchester United when they have faced Jurgen Klopp's side. But this is a week in which Ten Hag needs results in order to save his Manchester United career. He needs a massive win tonight. If they get through, many people will say that they probably don't deserve it. But the way that United is run and the way that United are, they won't care. They just want to get through their group stage by hook or by crook and hope that obviously the result of Galatasaray and Copenhagen goes in their favour to beat Bayern Munich. But then again, does anyone really see them beating Bayern Munich? If Bayern Munich turn up and they want it and they want a reaction from their humiliating defeat themselves in Bundesliga action this past weekend, then Bayern Munich will absolutely walk this game. If Bayern Munich decide to use this as a time to rest their players because they're already qualified for the next round of the competition, rotate a few, United may have more of a chance. Still might not be as much, given it's Bayern Munich, but they will have more of a chance of maybe catching Bayern Munich off guard a little bit. But in regards to Erik Ten Hag, this is a situation now where you can't help but think maybe a new manager wouldn't be the worst thing. And I'm not just saying that from a United point of view. I'm saying it from Erik Ten Hag himself. I'm saying it from this guy himself, because to say that he's sixth with all the issues that he's been facing, with all of the problems at Manchester United, is still pretty incredible. And I know that he's been relying on moments of key players, the likes of Scott McTominay, of all people, and of course Bruno Fernandes in particular, have really bailed Erik Ten Hag out multiple times across this season so far. I still think there is something to this guy. I still think there is a style of play that is waiting to be unleashed at a club that will allow it. He's already admitted, not maybe so in direct words, but he has kind of alluded to in previous press conferences and interviews and stuff, that he is being restricted at Manchester United. He's not being allowed to play the football that he would like to play. Seems a little strange considering that the players that he brought in were seemingly his players, but regardless of wherever you see that, you can honestly see this guy going to a smaller club and being able to be given the time and the patience in order to produce something and to maybe even replicate something, somewhat, of maybe the Ajax style of play that made him one of the most wanted managers in world football during his time with the Dutch club. I feel sorry for him a tiny bit in terms of what he was obviously walking into at Manchester United, but then again, I don't really, because he knew exactly what he was walking into at Manchester United to an extent. I'm not saying he's going to know all the ins and outs of Manchester United. We don't as fans. But if I can sit here from the outside looking in and see the issues at Manchester United before he took charge, and obviously I can see the patterns and similarities of the players and the breed of the club and the fan base and everything else that goes along with that, to culminate to the sackings of the likes of David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, Ralf Rangnick, and then you combine that with everything that those managers have said in press conferences and interviews in the past, where they've alluded to the problems that Manchester United currently face as a modern day club to obviously reach the pinnacle again, the issues that they face, why they're not at that peak of their powers like they were under Sir Alex Ferguson. I can't help but think you knew what you were walking into. I can't help but feel like you brought this on yourself. I can't help but feel like the Erik Ten Hag ego, which I would say every manager does have, by the way, overruled his head from his heart and said, I can be the man to fix this. I can be the man to implicate my style. I can be the man to change this club from the inside to the outside and produce a Manchester United that the fans can be proud of, produce a Manchester United that can be back to challenging for titles and trophies and things again. And a Manchester United that I can say I was the man to do it. I was the man to bring them success. I was the man to bring one of England's top clubs, one of the world's top footballing clubs, back to the peak of their powers and back to winning ways in terms of silverware. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. But you knew the problems you were going in, so I have very little sympathy. Obviously, the things that have developed over time during his stay, every manager goes through those issues, whether it be unhappy players, players that need to be disciplined, whether it be players that need to be sold. Those kinds of things happen at a football club, so you do feel a little bit sorry for that, but everybody goes through them. Obviously, the outside issues and the massive issues that the club has faced, the continuing development of the Mason Greenwood situation, the emergence of the Anthony situation, those things should have no place in society at all, but obviously Man United had to deal with them, and maybe there is an element to say that they should have done their due diligence on those sort of matters, on the players in particular, and maybe gone in a bit more depth into the profile of those players. But obviously one happened under Erik Ten Hag, one was before him. So there is so much that you can nitpick and you can point to Erik Ten Hag for, but it obviously isn't just him. There are other outside issues as well, whether it be the ownership issues and the supposed takeover at Manchester United that was sort of distracting and obviously off-putting for a while. I wouldn't be surprised if that had some sort of influence on the players. It just seems a whole complete mess and a whole complete carnage and chaos. And the sort of only glimmer of hope is that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to come in and change this club and remake this club and rebuild this club, and he's going to be taking over the footballing side of things. And maybe that might change things and change the fortunes around for Manchester United, but it's going to be a big ask, and it's not going to be something that's going to be done overnight. And maybe Erik Ten Hag just isn't the guy to take them forward. Like I say, don't get me wrong, I still think there is a great manager in there, and he showed it last season. When he did what he did last season with Manchester United, that was seen as a massive overachievement in my eyes. No one was expecting Manchester United to finish in the top 4 and gain Champions League football for the following season. They did that. No one was expecting them to reach 2 domestic cup finals. They did that. No one was expecting them to get any piece of silverware whatsoever. They did that in the form of the Carabao Cup. That was seen as a brilliant platform in which Erik Ten Hag had to maintain or build upon for at least one more season because of how well they overachieved. He hasn't managed that so far, and a lot of money has been spent at Manchester United over the course of the summer, and it hasn't panned out. And that is, again, maybe on the talent ID of Erik Ten Hag, that may be on the recruitment level of Manchester United, that may be on the scouting of Manchester United. All of these things are accountable for what is happening with this club right now. And like I say, with what is happening right now, with the performances on the pitch, with the amount of fortunaity they are getting within moments of this club, whether it be through match-winning goals by the likes of Scott McTominay or Bruno Fernandes or whoever it may be, the Moments FC is back and is in full head of steam at times. It's not sustainable. And it's not looking good for Erik Ten Hag. And like I say, with a massive week coming up, tonight against Bayern Munich, Sunday against Liverpool, 2 games that United are not expecting to get anything out of, 2 games in which they are expected to not only drop out of the Champions League, but European football as a whole, because there's no way they're getting past Bayern Munich and getting into the Europa League as a bare minimum. And in a hit-and-miss season that's been so inconsistent so far, that they are going to go up against their fierce rivals of Liverpool, who are top of the table, loving life right now, loving the view from the top. That's where Man United want to be. And in a week in which those 2 monumental and massive games are going to happen, and in a week in which they're expected to lose both of those games, it's going to be a massive uphill task for Erik Ten Hag to try and turn this around. Does that mean he gets sacked? Does that mean that Man United have to go into a new go and look for a new manager? My argument to that is, if you bring in a new manager, who is there? Because you can go down the interim route like you did a couple of years ago with Ralf Rangnick. It's not going to save your season. It's not going to do anyone any good, and it's going to be short-term thinking yet again. If it works out, it will work out briefly, and then it will plummet again, like it normally does for United. Look at what happened with Solskjaer when he came in as interim, and then you gave him the job permanently. Look what happened with Ralf Rangnick. Plummeted. Plummeted, plummeted, plummeted. The issue isn't the manager. But at the same time, United may have to rely on very brief and very short-term success with new managers. Because if they are to get a new manager, it could instantly fail, or it could work. But that working will turn into failure. Either way, the path will narrow into one, and it will end in failure. You could obtain a League Cup like what this manager has done. You could obtain Champions League football in the short term like what this manager has done. But ultimately, the culture at the club, the issues that are at the club, the issues that are deeply ingrained within that club from the top to the bottom will rise to the surface constantly unless you rip out the toxicity, unless you rip out the rot, unless you rip out the cancer at that club that is turning the club constantly, season after season, year after year, making it an absolute toxic cesspit for anyone to walk into. And the longer it goes on, the more unappealing Manchester United will become to anyone and everyone, whether it's fans, whether it's players, whether it's managers, coaching staff, whoever it may be. The more unappealing it will become over time. But those are just my thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it on this Erik Ten Hag situation. I personally think United should maybe consider getting rid of him, but I'm not really sure what that achieves overall. So I think you should really just see him through till the end of the season, in all honesty. But I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of this Erik Ten Hag situation? Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it on that particular topic. I'm sure it'll make for interesting and great reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new and want to see more content like this. Both things always and very greatly appreciated. It's got really dark in this room. I do apologise. But then again, that might actually be a good thing. You don't get to see this. Yeah, otherwise, hit the like button on the way out if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new and want to see more content like this. Both things are always and very greatly appreciated. And of course, get involved, like I say, down below. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video. Thanks everyone for stopping by. Take care, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll be back very soon with another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Take care. Speak to you all again in a bit.